Welcome back to the learning series for Political Campaign Planner template inside Notion. This is the third video. The first two were intros to, first one was a dashboard intro, the second one was a database intro. In this third video, we're going to dive deeper into databases and how to edit the data inside databases. Now, this is a general overview for editing data in quantities across different areas of the database. And then in future videos, we're going to get into actual individual videos for the individual databases and what you could use there. So if you navigate to your political campaign planner system, and I will just make this sidebar a little bit bigger so we can see all that. Over here in red, again, everything in red is a database inside a campaign planner, political campaign planner, and then you have a task manager. And if you click on the task manager, it's going to give you a little bit of information on what you're going to see in that task manager. So for example, it tells you that it's a listing of all the tasks that need to be completed, and that of course is controlled by the task database, which you could either click here or you can click in the sidebar. It's rolled up underneath the task manager. And what you will see here is a database, and a database is going to start off in table form. And again, I recommend that you watch Notion videos, getting started videos, if you are new or just getting started with Notion, because it'll explain how to use Notion in general. Of course, this system is based in Notion, so if you're going to use this system, you should know how to use Notion. Now, with that said, it's really easy to use, and it works almost like a spreadsheet. So across here, you have a key, right? So this is your key field. This field can't be deleted. It's a name field. And this is going to be the name of your task. Now you'll notice that there are a little caret here. And if you click that, it will actually show you subtasks. So you have the ability to add tasks, subtasks, and sub-subtasks, so on and so forth, that roll up into the parent task. We also have a status here, and that tells us whether where you are in the progress of this task, basically, right? It also has a category. What type of task is it? Is it an admin task, a digital, a field, a finance task? And you could add a new item here just by typing. And if that doesn't exist, you can go ahead and create it. You can put that who on your team this is assigned to. So you can click here and you could add different members of the team and it will show on their particular dashboards. Of course, we have task due dates and that will show up in calendars. You can add attachments. If you scroll to the right, you can see more fields. You could add attachments, and these could be links, these could be files, videos, really anything that you can attach as a file. And then tasks have dependencies, right? So for example, you might not be able to set up your bank account until you set up your PAC. So you can relate these by setting up dependencies and setting up which tasks block or are blocked by. So for example, if we can't set up our bank account until we're done with the PAC, we can just come right here and type the word PAC in there and click set up PAC. So what that does is it tells us that our bank account is being blocked by the setup of our PAC. And when we look at things like timeline, that's how we see that. So we see that the setup PAC is leading toward the setup bank account. Now this is our timeline view, so we could also create that same type of view by linking, right? So if we don't want to create our new website pages until the PAC is done, we could drag that PAC and connect it there too. And then what you'll notice back on your tasks is that the PAC setup is also a blocker for the website pages. So that's how to use the timeline view. And we can continue adding items here. We could set priority. And we can relate contacts. Now, we'll get into the contact database in a different video, but if this task is related to a certain person, for example, if I click into the related contact, you'll see that the ID number or the voter ID is there, and then the name is there. So this happens to be related to Craig, that's me. And if you needed to look at that person's page real quickly, you could just click that and it'll open up in a side peek with all of their information. And then we also have fields for related party committee. And you'll remember from the last video, I talked about being in a district where you might have political parties and committees. If you click on that, you'll notice that this is related to a committee member. So this task, for example, contacting Paula Poll Watcher, we have her record and she's a political committee member and maybe we need to get her endorsement. So her link is there. If we need to contact her, that's right there. So we can see her information there. So all of this is included in our tasks. Now, the detail of your task in Notion, when you have the main item here, this is the main item, and you have the ability to open that task. So you'll notice that this field, whenever you hover over any of these fields, the open button comes here. And if I click on that, say for create new website pages, I click open, and you'll see the information in a side page where you can also enter the fields. So for example, I could enter information into the items here. For example, I could set priority. Let's say this is low priority, and you'll notice that that shows up here. So I can enter the information either here on the table or in the actual record itself, and I could enter here. You could actually create sub-items here as well. So for example, if I look at setup pack, which has two sub-items, and I open the main item, you'll notice that it shows me the sub-items here. And if I click on any of those, that will show me that in the side peek, right? And then I could go back by looking at the parent item and just click back to that. Now, if I wanted to add detail to any of these, I would do that down here. Now, it's giving the option to use a template. And right now we leave the tasks plain. We don't have templates for that. But you could just click here and start typing. And this will be the detail for this task. So I might say in relation to a pack, give instructions to whoever is going to set up the pack, maybe the treasurer. Or I could add information that I want here. And because this is Notion, you can add anything that you could do with Notion. For example, I can add an image there, and I could embed a link or a video. I could go to Giphy and paste stuff like that, and all of that will be pasted there. I can add headings if I wanted to keep things organized. I could also add call outs if I wanted to call something out to for instructions for somebody who's reading this. So all of these things I can do within the scope of creating this pack, writing instructions to whoever might be doing that task. So this is how you work with data inside of Notion. Now that's the standard view, which is a table view. Now, anything that has a date, in this case, there are due dates here, right? Anything that has a date will show up on a calendar. And here we have a calendar that just runs in perpetuity, right? So as I scroll down, you'll see the month change up top over here, right? Now I could, of course, change this view and tell it only to show me maybe a week or a couple days, and we can go ahead and do that. So for example, I could come up into the options over here and change this from showing a month to showing just a week. Before I do that, I need to mention that this database is locked. When you open up the political campaign planner, all of the databases are locked, and that's actually to prevent changes. But as you move on, you may want to change the way things look and the way things work. So you'll do that by unlocking your database. So you can do that by clicking this lock button up here, and it'll show you that it's unlocked, and you can go ahead and relock it. And once you unlock that database, and you can keep it unlocked, you can then change the layout of your calendar. So for example, instead of showing this as a month, I could say, hey, just show me the week. And I could do things like that. You could also wrap the titles, and that will put the entire title within the page. Now you'll see this is pretty basic. I could also add other things, right? So if I wanted to add other properties to my calendar, I can click down there and add some things to it. So let's say I want to see what type of category it is and add that. And let's say I want to understand the status of that. So I could add those things, and it'll add the colors of those things from my database to the calendar as well. And clicking on any of these calendar items will open that item in the center. And you could change that behavior as well. If we wanted it to open in a different way, you can go to your layout, and you could see different options here. For example, instead of opening in the center, I could change this to open in a full page or in a side peek. So I could click that, and it opens up in the side. Kind of crunches your calendar, but it keeps you on the same page. So that's how you can work with calendar views. And I showed you the timeline view before, and this is nice because it's a rolling view and it shows you where things are in relation to other things. This gets really interesting when you start looking at your your content database, where you're releasing certain things in sequence. For example, you might need to do pictures before you do a print flyer. So you can start relating and using dependencies and actually show when things are being mailed, when things are being designed, when they're arriving at houses. And as you get down toward the end of a campaign, that gets really important when you're managing cash flow. You can also use a traditional Kanban view, which really is your board view, and you could drag things between the different stages, between started, blocked, in progress, or done. We also have a view for all of the tasks. So the first view, we were looking at tasks that were just open, and this is how we use filtering. So for example, if I were to change this status to done, you'll notice that it gets removed from the view. We actually have a couple things underneath it. So let's mark these all as done. And you'll notice all of that gets removed from view. And the reason it gets removed from view is because we have a filter on this, and we're filtering all of our tasks by a status not complete, right? Status is not complete. So this view is just showing us open tasks. We can view completed tasks over here, and this is going to show us all the completed tasks that we have in the system. And then over here, we have all tasks. So we can see all of our tasks, no matter the status here. So that's how databases work in general. You have the ability to put different types of content here and different types of fields here. But I would caution you in terms of how to use these fields, because the way you enter data here, there are relations in place and there are rollups. So for example, let's look at the task database, which gets rolled up through views and into the task dashboard. So let's look at the task dashboard and let's see how that works. One of the areas of the task dashboard are upcoming tasks. And these are tasks that are due today. So you'll notice we have some filters and some sorting on this. So if we look at the filter, we can see it's being sorted according to date. And then the filter has two rules. We want the start date is on or before today. That means maybe we're late on things that were due before, so we need to do them today possibly. And the status is not done. So these are tasks that are still active and they're due either before today or today. So you'll notice that here. Now, this is a view of upcoming tasks. Today, we also have one for tomorrow, and you'll see that these things change, right? These are tasks that are due tomorrow and moving forward. These are tasks that are due throughout the week and also throughout the month, and you see these different views. All of these pull from the task database. We also have another view here called priority need to contact list, and I'll get into this when we talk about contacts, but the system has the ability to press one button on your contact database and turn that into a task to actually contact that person. And that shows up here in this view, which just shows people you need to contact. Down below, we have a view of team tasks, and this shows tasks across your entire team by the assignee, who that's assigned to. So all of these different views are relating back to the data in that one database, your tasks database. It just shows the data in different ways using filters and sorting. We also have performance charts, and a chart is just another view where we can actually show graphical visual representations of your data. So for example, we see here tasks that are done. This shows that there are 4 tasks done. So if we go back to the task dashboard and we look at the completed tasks, you'll see that there are a certain number of tasks that were assigned to me. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is actually a different Craig. It's a shared thing there. So it's actually just 4 tasks assigned to me, and those were completed. So that's what you see in that area. So that's what you see here in the task dashboard. Those tasks completed. You also see 2 tasks in progress. So that's what this is looking at. So that's how to use data in databases. Now keep in mind, if you change the structure of the database, if you change the fields, it's okay to change field names. Like maybe you don't like category and you want to call this type. That's fine. That will translate across the system. As you change data, it will translate across the system. But if you change relationships between tables, it could break the data inside. So just be careful when you're moving around the database. We'll get more into that when we talk about related database in a different video. You can also create other fields to track your data. And the way you create fields in your database is coming to these 3 dots here and looking at the properties. A field is called a property, and there are many different types of properties. If you can view all of the properties here. So you'll notice that this table has a certain number of properties that are viewed, and then there are other properties that are not viewed, and you'll see hidden in this table. And you can go ahead and just add those by just clicking that I button to either remove or add them. You could also add a new property by clicking New Property, and you'll see there are lots of different types of properties here. Now, I don't typically add things like phone numbers and emails to tasks because I believe phone numbers and emails belong to people, so that would show up in the contact database, right? But you can add different things here, select fields, dates, people, files, check boxes, URLs, things like that. You could add all these different types of things onto your databases to make your database a little bit more complex and to have a little bit more context for what you're trying to do. So that's a quick overview of how to work with databases. As we get into a few of the other databases, I'll show you exactly the type of information that needs to go into each database and how you can pull that information into different views and look at them through the dashboard so that you can manage your campaign. So join us in one of those next videos and we'll continue in this learning series for the Political Campaign Planner for Notion.